to find nuggets of molten gold. It's rich, but not that rich. And here ain't the place to dig. It comes from someplace further up. Up there. Up there's where we got to go. Up there.
Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to see as many new films this year as years previous. There have been a few new ones I really enjoyed, like The Five Bloods and Soul, but most of the award season contenders are just now hitting streaming platforms, and I haven't had a chance to catch up. I did, however, push myself to watch some older films that I may have missed over the years and had a blast doing it. I decided this year, instead of my usual best of video, to instead make a video celebrating some of these older films I discovered for the first time. So without further ado, here are my top 10 film discoveries of 2020. Number 10, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I decided to pair this classic film along with The Five Bloods after hearing about the parallels on the podcast The Last Picture Show, and it didn't disappoint. John Huston and Humphrey Bogart team up again after The Maltese Falcon, in Huston's first film after documenting America's war effort during World War II. The Treasure of Sierra Madre wasn't the exciting action-adventure flick I came in expecting, but instead, it was this slow-burning morality tale that highlights greed's destructive nature and the unraveling of Humphrey Bogart's character Dobbs as he descends into madness. I had gotten used to seeing Bogart in a certain type of role. He's the tough guy, cool and witty, maybe not physically handsome, but his confidence usually makes him so. That isn't the Bogart you find in Sierra Madre. He's a loathsome and ugly human being. You hate him from the beginning, and it only gets worse as the film progresses. Bogart disappears into the role, leaving behind every bit of his movie star persona.
All right, to make it clear to a dumbhead like you, we take all his goods and go straight up north and leave the old jackass flat.
You aren't serious, are you? You don't really mean what you're saying.
Fred C. Dobbs don't say nothing he don't mean.
As long as I'm here and can do anything about it, you won't touch a single grain of the old man's goods.
I know exactly what you mean. You want to take it all for yourself and cut me out.
While other roles may be more iconic, this is a role that makes you see what a terrific actor Humphrey Bogart is. A surprise of the film came from Walter Huston, the director's father, and his character Howard. I was expecting the character to be a sort of Walter Brennan comedic relief, but instead was presented with a character that provided a lot of heart and depth to the film and acted as a moral compass. He performs the role without his front teeth, which adds to the authenticity of the performance, and led to him winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
I know what gold does to men's souls.
You talk as though you struck it rich sometime or other, Pop. How about it? And what are you doing in here, a down and outer?
That's the gold. That's what it makes of us. Never knew a prospector yet that died rich. Make one fortune, sure to blow it in trying to find another. I'm no exception to the rule. Sure, I'm an odd old bone now, but say, don't you guys think the spirit's gone?
Sierra Madre is a classic for a reason, with its amazing performances and story filled with so much tension that it feels like it could boil over at any moment. Number 9, Nashville.
Fellow taxpayers and stockholders in America, on the first Tuesday in November, we have to make some vital decisions about our management.
I caught up with several of Robert Altman's films this past year and enjoyed them all thoroughly. I don't know if I've ever seen a film quite like Nashville. It really is one of a kind. Many have tried to copy the structure of its intertwining stories, but none have been able to capture the same spirit as Altman. It's a film about many things like politics, fame, and the entertainment industry, but Altman doesn't pass judgment. He just presents the many different people that inhabit this complex sphere. There isn't really a plot to Nashville. The film follows various people who live and work in the Music City and captures their small personal stories and how they intersect with each other over the course of the week leading up to this big political rally. Nashville is brimmed with unique characters and features maybe one of the best ensemble casts ever put together. Ronnie Blakely plays Barbara Jean, Nashville's sweetheart, who's trying to make a comeback after taking a break to deal with some medical issues. Barbara Jean is a loose interpretation of Loretta Lynn, but Ronnie Blakely makes her so much more than that. The character illustrates the corrupt industry and how it exploits young artists, a theme that is as true today as it was then.
seems like it's a brewing. That's what my granddaddy used to say all the time before he lost his hearing. Once he got deaf, he never talked much no more. Except sometimes he'd say, oh gosh, or oh darn it, or my word.
Keith Carradine really stands out as Tom, a Chris Christopherson-esque singer. He portrays Tom as this unrelenting ladiesman who uses women and tosses them to the side without a second thought. My favorite scene in the film comes whenever Tom sings his song, I'm Easy, in a bar full of women who have either slept with him or want to.
Neighbors, let me watch you from a distance. 'Cause when you're near, I find it hard to keep my head.
Meanwhile, he focuses in on Linnea Reese, a married gospel singer played perfectly by Lily Tomlin. For the first time, you think you're seeing genuine emotion from Tom as he looks longingly and sincerely at Linnea.
Because I'm easy. Yeah, I'm easy. Take my hand and pull me down. I won't put up any fight.
A few scenes later, you realize it wasn't so sincere and this is all just part of an act.
This is long distance operator. You want discharged to your room?
Yeah, please.
And your room number, please.
112.
Hello?
Hey. How you doing? Listen, I'm really sorry I left the way I did.
The film's strong characters are really what makes Nashville so great. Characters that were created in close collaboration between Altman and the actors themselves, who wrote many of their own songs. But also Joan Tewksbury's script helped establish these complex relationships and multifaceted characters. Altman and his cinematographers shoot the film in a way that's very organic, lending the film a documentary feel. Many of the music scenes are shot as concert footage, which adds to the authentic feel of the film.
Ain't no use to sit and whine, 'cause the fish ain't on your line. Bait your hook and keep it trying, keep it going.
With its exploration of many themes and complex characters, Nashville is a one-of-a-kind time capsule of 70s culture and politics that may also serve as a potential warning for our present.
I won't leave you no more.
Number 8, Cleo from 5 to 7.
Vous êtes malade?
Oui.
Ah oui, vous voilà, la femme, Vénus Astarté. C'est sur vous la maladie.
Oui, moi.
Aside from a short unit in film school, I haven't seen a ton of French New Wave films, a blind spot I am trying to correct. I've also been wanting to catch up with more of Agnes Varda's films, since falling in love with her in 2017's documentary Faces Places.
Mais tu étais là. Oh, c'est beau. Bellini. Oh, c'est beau. Oh, c'est beau. Del Sarto. Ah, c'est beau.
Cleo from 5 to 7 seemed like a great place to start filling in both these gaps. The film chronicles that 2-hour span, 5 to 7, for a young singer as she awaits test results revealing whether or not she has cancer. There's an interesting juxtaposition in the film. Cleo is going through a scary and terrible event, but the 2 hours we spend with Cleo almost feel whimsical. She goes shopping and on car rides with friends. She sits on a swing in her bedroom, then meets with her lover. But through all of this, there is a sense of dread and melancholy and a frustration from Cleo. Cleo is frustrated with the way the world sees her. Men don't take her seriously. They don't even believe her when she reveals that she's ill. They only see her for her beauty or how they can use her, something she's worried will fade with her diagnosis.
Minute, beau papillon. Être laide, c'est ça la mort. Tant que je suis belle, je suis vivante et 10 fois plus que les autres.
Cleo goes through life feeling like nothing more than an object, always gazed upon, but never actually seen. As she walks through the streets of Paris, Cleo sees men leer at her and women judge her. Whether or not this is what's actually happening or what Cleo feels is happening is open for interpretation. Varda captures Cleo's inner struggle and journey with striking visual and thematic motifs. Varda's use of mirrors and reflections are quite compelling. At times, Cleo sees herself perfectly clear and is happy with what she sees. In moments of duress, Cleo's image is often fragmented or obscured, just as her sense of self. This device shows that Cleo is worried with how others see her, but also reflects on Cleo's skewed vision of herself. Corinne Marchand does a terrific job of carrying the film as Cleo. The camera is fixated on her throughout the duration of the film, and she is able to portray Cleo's fear, vapidness, and growth through her glances and body language.
Si je pouvais m'arracher la tête avec.
Even though the film is steeped with death and contemplating morality, Cleo from 5 to 7 feels very much alive, thanks to Agnes Varda's kinetic filmmaking and Corinne Marchand's captivating presence. Number 7, The Friends of Eddie Coyle.
It's a grubby, violent, dangerous world, but it's the only world they know, and they're the only friends Eddie Coyle has.
I've always been a fan of Robert Mitchum. I've caught many of his classic westerns and noir films over the years, and of course, The Night of the Hunter. Mitchum has such a powerful presence on screen and an easiness to his acting that is hard not to notice. So when a friend recommended The Friends of Eddie Coyle, a Mitchum film I had never heard of, I jumped at the opportunity to watch it. The Friends of Eddie Coyle is a small-scale crime film, directed by Peter Yates, best known for Steve McQueen's hit Bullitt. It follows Mitchum's character, Eddie Coyle, a gun runner, that's facing serious jail time after getting busted for a truck hijacking.
Jesus, don't get your bowels in an uproar. They're for somebody else. Hurry up, will you? Those look like fucking army guns to me. Want to see one? No way. Just fill up the bags and put a couple of loaves on top.
Eddie decides to turn informer in hopes of reducing his sentence. What follows is a series of tense meetings and double crossings that unfold before us, and the characters caught up in the web of crime. Robert Mitchum is great as the worn-down Eddie Coyle. He leans into his age and hard-scrabbled appearance.
You made somebody mad, you made a big mistake, and now there's somebody doing time for it. There's nothing personal in it, you understand, but it just has to be done. They put your hand in a drawer, somebody kicks the drawer shut. Ever hear bones breaking? Just like a man snapping a shingle. Hurts like a bastard. I don't know who you've been selling to. But the man tells me you got guns to sell. I need guns.
Oh, look, you can't trace these guns. I guarantee that.
You better. Neither one of us will be able to shake hands.
He looks right at home in the chilly Boston setting, sitting across the diner table from another small-town crook, or sitting down at the bar owned by Peter Boyle's character, Dylan. This is Mitchum's picture, but the film is also populated with other thugs and feds. All of these characters and their actors bring the grubby world of this film to life. The Friends of Eddie Coyle has the look, feel, and sound of many classic 70s films like The French Connection, Dirty Harry, and Dog Day Afternoon. It's a little more understated, though. It features some tense bank robberies that may bring to mind Ben Affleck's The Town, and a police sting that ends with a parking lot car chase, but overall the action feels intentionally anticlimactic. Opting to focus less on the exciting aspects of the criminal life, but instead on the difficult relationships and backroom dealings between those involved.
Hey, Jimmy, you gonna need any more guns?
I could use anything you can get. We're gonna need at least 5 Monday, maybe more to do the job right. I like to have a couple of extras in the car. So if I gotta use one on the job, I can wipe it off and heave it down the river.
These relationships and characters really come to life through the amazing dialogue crafted by Paul Menashe in his screenplay that was adapted from George V. Higgins' novel of the same name. The characters and conversations feel honest, and each actor feels believable in their role. My favorite scene in the film comes towards the end, as Eddie and his friend and fellow criminal Dylan go to a Boston Bruins game. Eddie is enjoying himself, drinking beer and watching the great Bobby Orr on the ice.
Can you imagine being a kid like that? What is he, 24 or something? Greatest hockey player in the world. Number 4, Bobby Orr. Jeez, what a future he's got, huh?
It's painful to hear him praise Orr's bright future, when we know Eddie's is looking quite the opposite. The Friends of Eddie Coyle may lack the prestige or notoriety of some of its contemporaries, but it is worth a watch thanks to Robert Mitchum's performance and its gripping story. Number 6, Midnight Cowboy.
Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying.
My frame of reference for Midnight Cowboy was largely the many references to it in other films and media.
I'm walking here! Hey, I'm walking here! Hey, I'm walking here! Hey, I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Turns out there is a lot more to it than that famous line. Midnight Cowboy is an unflinching look at houselessness and a critique of the American dream. It's also a story about friendship and queerness. Midnight Cowboy introduces us to Joe Buck, a handsome Texan who quits his job and heads to New York City, chasing his dreams of sleeping with and living off of rich older women. Joe soon realizes that his American dream is easier imagined than reached, and that he is not quite the hustler he thought.
You know, Cass, that's a funny thing, you mentioning money. Because I was just about to ask you for some.
You were gonna ask me for money? Huh?
Hell, why do you think I come all the way up here from Texas for?
You were gonna ask me for money. Who the hell do you think you're dealing with? Some old slut on 42nd Street?
Joe ends up down on his luck in the streets and all alone. There he forms an unlikely friendship with Ratso Rizzo, a foul, ill, and strangely endearing con man, also living on the outskirts of New York. Midnight Cowboy was directed by British director John Schlesinger. A bit of an outsider himself, it seems as if Schlesinger was able to bring some of his own feelings of isolation and apply that to the way that he shot the characters and the overwhelming city around them. Midnight Cowboy presents the viewer with a filthy and less than idealistic version of New York, a rude awakening for Joe. The element that really stands out in Midnight Cowboy is the acting of its two central leads, Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman, as Joe and Ratso. This is the best Voight has ever been. His Joe is confident and naive, but he has a sweetness to him that is present throughout. You can tell he isn't cut out for this hustling from the very beginning. Voight does a terrific job of showing a dreamer whose confidence is slowly chipped away and whose dream is abandoned.
I like the way I look. Makes me feel good. It does. And women like me, goddammit. Hell, the only one thing I ever been good for is loving. Women go crazy for me. That's a really true fact. Ratso, hell, Crazy Annie, they had to send her away.
Hoffman's performance is a bit broader, but just as effective. He transforms his body and demeanor, walking with a limp and adopting a wheezy vocal quality. Hoffman apparently achieved his character's limp by stuffing rocks in his shoes. He makes Ratso despicable and sympathetic all at once.
I don't think I can walk anymore. I mean, I've been falling down a lot. I'm scared.
What are you scared of?
You know what they do to you when they know you can't. When they find out that you can't walk. Oh, Christ.
Another standout element of the film is its excellent use of music. The film uses Harry Nilsson's Everybody's Talking throughout the film. The song follows Joe as he heads to New York. It sets up his journey and optimism as he chases his dream.
Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying. Only the echoes of my mind.
The song is then replaced by John Barry's harmonica theme that is haunting and sad and is brilliantly weaved throughout the rest of the film.
Key to room 514, please, sir.
Midnight Cowboy isn't an easy film to watch. The characters don't much care for themselves, and there's a lot of self-loathing. It's an interesting time capsule of the late 60s in New York, both in its depictions and in its filmmaking. Schlesinger utilizes a gritty, realistic style, punctuated with a few moments of experimental montages that take us into the fragmented psyches of Joe and Ratso. Midnight Cowboy is an important film. It's the only X-rated film to win Best Picture at the Oscars, a rating it received from the MPAA due to what they called its homosexual frame of reference. While its handling of some of these aspects might seem a touch dated today, for its time it was a pioneer in bringing a little bit of queer cinema into the mainstream. Number 5. Detour. I found reading was a helpful distraction from the stress of the last year. I ended up reading a lot of pulp novels this past year, some Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler. I then decided to revisit some of the films inspired by the books, which in turn led me to just watching a ton of noir films. One of the best that I came across during this period was 1945's Detour, directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, reportedly shot somewhere between 6 and 14 days and around $30,000. Detour has a nightmarish quality to it that sets it apart from other films of the genre. The story is told as a flashback with desperately exhausted voiceover from the main character, a down-on-his-luck piano player, Al Roberts.
That tune! Why was there always that rotten tune? Following me around, beating in my head, never letting up. Did you ever want to forget anything? Did you ever want to cut away a piece of your memory or blot it out? You can't, you know. No matter how hard you try.
Al is hitchhiking to California to be with his girlfriend, who ran off in search of fame. Al accepts a ride from a man, Charles Haskell, who happens to die in a freak accident while driving Al. Al decides no one will believe Haskell's death was an accident, so he steals his car and identity. This panicked decision leads him down a dark road that twists and turns with deceit and violence. Detour's story is told quite efficiently. It all plays out over the course of 68 minutes. It doesn't need any more time to bring its plot to a boil that bubbles over with ferocity. Tom Neal brings weary eyes and a paranoia to his voice for the role of Al. Neal has an expressive face that Ulmer and his photographer shoot well.
But then I remember that even if I only drove the car for 100 miles or so, I would need money for gas. Besides, it was stupid of me to leave all that money on a dead man.
There are some technical errors in Detour, and some terrible rear projection backdrops in the many driving scenes. But you can also see some really creative moments and memorable noir imagery that are impressively done on the film's shoestring budget. One of the main reasons Detour stands out among other noirs is its ferocious performance from Anne Savage. She plays Vera, a hitchhiker that Al picks up after stealing Haskell's car, and turns out to be one of the most vicious femme fatales to ever grace the screen.
Where did you leave his body? Where did you leave the owner of this car? You're not fooling anyone. This buggy belongs to a guy named Haskell.
Ulmer doesn't shoot Savage in a glamorous light, and Savage doesn't play her as such either. She is quick and biting from the moment we meet her, and she continues to turn the screws tighter and out.
There's a cute little gas chamber waiting for you, Roberts. And I hear extradition to Arizona's a cinch. Where's that phone?
Vera!
Leave me alone!
Usually the femme fatale puts forth a sense of softness or weakness to lure in the protagonist, but Anne Savage's Vera never does. She is strong where Tom Neal's Al is weak. Detour is in the public domain and easily found for free on YouTube and Wikipedia. Its short runtime makes watching it a breeze, and Savage's performance makes it a must-watch for fans of the genre.
Even if you did tell the cops I was in on it with you, what could they do to me?
Number 4, California Split.
All right, sir.
California Split usually gets lost in the shuffle of Robert Altman's prolific career. Its straightforward approach appears, at first glance, to lack the ambition and scale of some of his more acclaimed films like MASH, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and the previously mentioned Nashville. But in the end, I found it to be emotionally deft, as well as being quite humorous. California Split takes us into the seedy world of gambling through the experiences of Charlie and Bill. The film opens at a poker tournament, where the two are accused of working together to cheat. The scene is played so well that you're not quite sure if the accusations are true.
The table was a joker. That's why you wouldn't give it up.
You are ridiculous.
You said it wasn't even close.
Yesterday's news.
You two are working together. You're partners. You two motherfucking creeps are
Stop with the language!
Afterwards, they get drinks and become quick friends, as the impulsive and charismatic Charlie pulls Bill into his intoxicating freestyle way of life.
$20 says you can't name the 7 dwarfs.
Okay. I know I can name 3 or 4 of them, but now you
7.
gotta be able to 7 of them. Okay.
I got 7.
Doc.
That's 1.
Dopey.
That's 2.
Snoopy.
There is no Snoopy.
There ain't no Snoopy. What about?
Here comes 7 like a Gatling gun.
Okay,
You
7
ready?
dwarfs.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Sleepy, grumpy Doc.
That's 4.
That's 3.
Oh.
Together, they chase the high of scoring big and keeping ahead of the odds. California Split is littered with hilarious banter and situations, but still has a dark street that runs through it. It, after all, centers around 2 addicts. Charlie makes the addict lifestyle look cool and fun, while Bill loses everything to keep up. He's not cut out for this world.
Okay, I beat you. 10 days later, you come to me and you don't have any money. You're out of line already, babe. But I extend that. I extended it to you. You told me you're gonna have the cash, right? You told me you got things going. I don't know what you're saying to me, but you're gonna have the money. You got a way to get the money. Did you not say that? What you're trying to tell me is come payoff day, you don't have $1, plus you owe me more.
It's a buddy movie and hangout film, both of which I enjoy. I see elements of swingers and uncut gems in here. I think Vince Vaughn's early 2000s performance were probably heavily inspired by Elliot Gould here. Gould brings heaps of energy to Charlie. His engine never stops as he moves from one high to the next. He's a joy to watch. His wardrobe and his mannerisms all work to put you under his spell.
William, I had this incredible dream, right? I'm in Tijuana at the dog track, and I sweep the card. Every dog I bet on, William, wins like a champ. What do I know about dogs, right? But whatever I'm feeling, William, winner, winner.
George Segal does a great job of grounding the picture, playing the straight man to Gould's manic pixie dream boy. Segal still brings plenty of laughs, but also gives the character an earnestness that is crucial to acquiring the audience's sympathy. You feel for him as you see him fall deeper into the seedy world. You see his exhaustion build as the film continues forward. Segal is particularly great during the final scenes, as the joy of winning turns into a hollowness.
Charlie, I have to go home. Oh yeah, where do you live?
You can see he is not having fun anymore, at gambling or with Charlie. The sheen has worn off.
I see.
One of Altman's greatest skills is creating a sense of place and atmosphere. In California Split, the gambling halls and dive bars come to life. You can smell the smoke and stale beer. They are filled with people who look like they belong there. This is achieved through the casting of extras and bit players, the set and costume design, as well as Altman's signature sound design, which overwhelms us with a cacophony of sound. These elements help create a world that you feel like you could just open up a door and walk right in and sit down at a table with Bill and Charlie. Number 3, Do the Right Thing. What can be said about Do the Right Thing that hasn't already been said a million times? Spike Lee's best film has been dissected and discussed in detail since its release 30 years ago, and has only become more relevant and powerful in recent years. It's a shame that I'm just now watching it in the wake of the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. I'm baffled that it wasn't shown in any of my college film courses, because it is a film that is brilliant both from a technical and narrative standpoint. The film centers around the Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn, on the hottest day of the year. Tensions rise between the neighborhood's black and white residents and the Italian-American Sal who runs a local pizzeria with his 2 sons. Caught in the middle is Mookie, a young black man who delivers pizza for Sal, played by the director himself.
Yo, Mook! Mookie!
What?
How come you got no brothers up on the wall?
Man, ask Sal, right?
Hey, Sal, how come you got no brothers up on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do. You can put your brothers and uncles and nieces and nephews, your stepfather, stepmother, whoever you want, see? But this is my pizzeria. American Italians on the wall only.
Spike Lee brings the vibrant Bed-Stuy neighborhood to life, pairing his dynamic style with a plethora of colorful characters and settings. Do the Right Thing features many small, effective performances that all seem fully developed and realized. Bugging Out, Mr. Senior Love Daddy, Demare, Mother Sister, and Radio Raheem are not easily forgotten.
Let me tell you the story of right hand, left hand. It's a tale of good and evil. Hey, it was with this hand that Cain iced his brother. Love. These 5 fingers, they go straight to the soul of man.
Each character brought to life through the actor's performance, as well as the realistic and individualistic dialogue written by Spike Lee.
The mayor, we need your leadership.
Doctor, what are you talking about?
I'm organizing a boycott of South's Famous.
Shit. Hey, keep walking, Doctor. I don't want to hear none of your damn black foolishness.
It's hard to believe that someone so young could realize such a specific visual style so early in their career. There are elements here that you still see in Spike Lee's filmography today. The film takes place on the hottest day of the summer, and you can feel it. Few films have been able to capture the weather so effectively. Every character is glistening with sweat. Their shoulders slump from exhaustion. The heat is utilized as more than an atmospheric backdrop, but rather as an important element of the story that has weight on the characters and their actions. The heat is oppressive and makes the characters irritable and uncomfortable, ramping up the tensions between them.
What I tell you about that noise? What I tell you about that pitch? What the fuck are you dead? Are you?
The final act is heartbreaking and unrelenting. Lee has a tendency to tell the audience how they should feel sometimes, but he doesn't do that here. He leaves the ending unresolved, which is punctuated by 2 differing quotes from Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. He doesn't allow for any concrete resolution between characters or events. How can there be? The story is still being told, so it can't and shouldn't be wrapped up nicely with a bow. That lets the audience off the hook, and there are still difficult conversations to be had and work to be done. Number 2, The Long Goodbye. The third and final Robert Altman film to make my list is his 1973 neo-noir The Long Goodbye. After watching and rewatching several noir films, it was interesting to see something that pushes against the genre. The Long Goodbye does this through its casting of Elliot Gould as Raymond Chandler's infamous detective Philip Marlowe, and by placing the film in 1970s Los Angeles. The plot is a sort of maze where the mysteries start and stop and intersect with each other. First, Marlowe's friend Terry Lennox asks him to take him to Mexico.
Tijuana? Tijuana now?
No, Tijuana.
When Marlowe gets back, he discovers that Terry has been accused of murdering his wife.
Lieutenant, who's dead? Terry Lennox's wife, that's who's dead. And not a nice dead.
Then Terry's neighbor, Eileen, hires Marlowe to find her drunk novelist husband who is missing.
So let me get this straight now. This is different from some of the times your husband behaves this way, but it's not different from all the times. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, could you explain that to me?
Marlowe, after, has to deal with the gangster Marty Augustine, who's after some money Terry owes him.
The major crime is he stole my money. Your friend stole my money, and the penalty for that is capital punishment.
Got all that?
I don't understand. I don't understand it at all. I've never understood it.
Elliot Gould's portrayal of Marlowe is different from previous versions of the character. Gone is the slick coolness of Bogart. Gould's Marlowe is disheveled, aimless, and aloof. His Marlowe is a man out of place and time, meandering his way through a twisting plot and dishonest characters. Gould brings a wry, sardonic charm to Marlowe.
Where did you go last night, Marlowe? Oh, is this where I'm supposed to say, what is all this about? And he says, shut up, I asked the question. Yeah, that's right.
A popular tool used in classic noir films is the hard-boiled voiceover narration from protagonists. The Long Goodbye forgoes this, and instead has Marlowe mumble his own scattered, disjointed thoughts out loud as a sort of narration.
Cat gets me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm a special kind of fool. I gotta be out of my fucking mind. Boy, that cock made me cat.
The Long Goodbye features some great supporting turns. Sterling Hayden is a powerful force as the drunken novelist Roger Wade that's supposed to bring to mind Hemingway. His performance is angry and boisterous and hard to forget.
You know, if I could just get you to understand that, you know, when a writer can't write, it's like being impotent.
I understand what that's like, too.
Nina Van Pelt gives the femme fatale Eileen an interesting edge that never allows you to know her true motives.
Well, I looked at your picture in the paper, and I liked what you did for my friend.
Your friend?
No, I mean your friend. What am I talking about? And, I like your face, too. I feel you're someone I can trust.
Well, you got me, lady.
Then there's Mark Rydell as the gangster Marty Augustine. He's a fast talker and smooth, which makes it all the more shocking when he savagely attacks a woman he claims to love. In fact, all the violence in The Long Goodbye seems to come out of nowhere, shattering the dreamlike state that the film lulls the audience into. Altman's iconic sound design once again adds a dynamic element to scenes. At the Wade's oceanside house, conversations are drowned out by the crashing waves.
Where was your husband the night Sylvia Lennox was killed?
Altman and his accomplished cinematographer, Vilmos Zsigmond, use an exposure technique called flashing, where the film's negatives are exposed to varying amounts of light after shooting it and before development. This gives the film a washed out or faded color. It adds to the surreal, dreamlike quality of the film and grounds us in a certain time and place. It's hard not to spot the film's influences on a ton of great films that have come after. Inherent Vice, The Big Lebowski, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There is a ton of excellent material to borrow from in this non-traditional approach to film noir. Altman's meandering camera and tone, paired with the muddled dialogue, push against the noir tendencies while creating one of the most unique and memorable films of the genre. And
it's okay with me.
Number 1, Don't Look Now. My favorite film I saw this year was Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now. I couldn't stop thinking about it days after watching it. Dread and melancholy loom over every moment of Don't Look Now. It starts from the opening scene, where we watch John and Laura Baxter's children playing outside of their home on a rainy Sunday in the English countryside. Inside, John pores over photographic slides of a church sanctuary, and Laura reads by the fire. John senses something is wrong and rushes outside to find his daughter Christine has drowned in the creek that runs through their property. This terrible tragedy hangs over the couple in the film for its entire duration. The couple attempts to outrun their grief by traveling to Venice. John has taken a job restoring an old church, but the Venice they arrive to is not the idyllic Venice of paintings and postcards. Instead, it's a decaying, waterlogged labyrinth that serves as a constant reminder of their tragedy. When the couple encounters a pair of sisters, one of them a blind clairvoyant, their relationship and belief systems are tested even further.
You're so sad and there's no need to be.
My sister's psychic.
She wants you to know. I've seen her. And she wants you to know that she's happy. I've seen your little girl sitting between you and your husband, and she was laughing. Yes. Oh, yes, she's with you. She's with you, my dear. and she's laughing.
The couple is played perfectly by Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. Both performances are fairly reserved, but there is a never-ending hint of turmoil beneath the surface for both. There is a tenderness and familiarity in their chemistry that makes the marriage believable. They each capture realistic and personal ways of dealing with grief. John tries to distract himself and ignore the pain, burying himself in his work. John is a fixer. It's part of his job restoring churches. But his daughter's death is something he can't fix, nor is his wife's grief. Laura has difficulties coping with the immense loss of Christine. Therapy and medication haven't seemed to help. She is stuck in her grief. She is desperate for relief, so she turns to the clairvoyant sisters for help.
I really think we have to leave, Venice. It was a warning. It was Christine. She was trying to warn us. How can I... Oh, we must leave, John. John, do you hear what I say? It was Christine, our daughter.
My daughter is dead, Laura. She does not come peeping with messages back from behind the fucking grave. Christine is dead. She is dead. Dead, 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 dead.
Roeg and his editor, Graham Clifford, use a disjointed and fractured editing style to heighten tension, foreshadow events, and create motifs that occur throughout the film. Drowned bodies, breaking glass, spilled drinks, and especially the color red. It's one of the best uses of color I have ever seen in film, focusing heavily on a bright red hue of Christine's rain jacket. The color appears throughout the film, often punctuating an otherwise drab aesthetic. The fragmented editing also comes into play during a vivid love scene between John and Laura. The jolting cuts aren't just a tool to get the graphic scenes past censors, but show us their relationship is fragmented, even in this moment of intense passion. There is a possessed nature to their lovemaking, giving you a sense of closeness and emotional distance both at once. If you're a fan of Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, The Babadook, or A24's brand of horror, then Don't Look Now should be an essential viewing for you. Its influence is evident in many modern horror films.
I'm a friend. I won't hurt you. Come on.
Darlings.
Don't Look Now is a horrific psychological drama that unfolds in complex and disturbing ways. Much like John Baxter, you see glimpses of the future and past, horrific events and outcomes. You know the pieces fit together, but you aren't quite sure how it all comes together in the end. You know it won't end well though, because after all,
nothing is what it seems.
Well, there it is, my favorite film discoveries of 2020. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.